Ready to begin looking at parsing now, and we'll look at the perfects first. It's important to learn the three MS forms. Now you can learn the names of the stems themselves. It helps to learn the three MS forms of the perfects in a strong root. So here we have pakad, and so this is a strong root. There's no weak letters in it. And we have pakad for the kal, 3ms, and then for the nifal, nifkad, for the pl, pikade, the pual, pukad, the hithpael, we have hitpakade, for the hifil we have hifkid, and then for the hofal we have hofkad. So if you know how to spell all of these three MS forms across the 7 stems for the perfects, and you know the second half of the kal perfects, you can parse any of the forms for any of the stems, and in fact you can construct any of the forms. So let's take a look at the perfect 3MS forms that come from the names of the stems. First we look at the forms that have prefix letters, and so there are 4 forms that have prefix letters. There is the nifal, the hithpael, the hifil, and the hofal. Those all have prefix letters. The name of the stem itself can tell you both the prefix letter and its vowel. Nifal tells you that you have a noon hirik. Hitpael tells you that you have a hey tav with a hirik and a silent schwa. Hifil tells you you have a hey hirik. Hofal tells you you have a hey with a kametz hatuf. The next thing to consider is the R1 vowel, or schwa, and the name actually tells you that as well. So you have, for the nifal column, nifal or nifkad. Tells you have a silent schwa under the R1 letter. For pal or pikade, the E vowel in P tells you have a hirik under the first root letter. Pual, a kibbutz under the first root letter. Hitpael, here we have a patach under the first root letter. For the hifil, notice that we have a silent schwa, and similarly with the hofal we have a silent schwa. The next thing to consider is the cases where there's doubling of R2, and we have 3 cases where there is R2 doubling, and those are the intensives. And so we have it for the pal, the pual, and the hithpael. If you write the intensives out with a strong root, you will see the doubling of the R2 as a dagesh forte. If you just go by the name, pal, pual, hithpael, the name itself won't tell you there's doubling. You just have to remember that there's doubling in the 3 intensive stems. So the name of the stem gives us the first component of parsing, which is first the prefix letter and vowel, if there is one, and then the R1 vowel or schwa, and then we need to remember whether there's doubling of R2. The rest of parsing perfects comes from looking at the second half of kal perfects. We gain this from looking at the kal column, the vowel under the second root letter, and any vowels or schwas under the third root letter, and then any endings. So notice what we have for the first common singular of the kal. We have the theme vowel, or R2 vowel, it's a patach. The vowel for the third root letter is, in this case, a silent schwa, technically not a vowel. And then the ending is T. Notice that this patach, silent schwa, and T is the same across the entire chart. So for the nifal, we have kadti. The pal, kadti. The pual, kadti. The hithpael, kadti. The hifil, kadti. The hofal, kadti. So the kal gives you everything from the second root letter, theme vowel, to the left to the end, including the vowel or schwa under the third root letter and then the ending itself. Let's look at another row here. We'll look at the second masculine plurals. So we have pakadtem. Notice that the forms going across the second masculine plural row all have that same ending. Nifkadtem, pikadtem, pukadtem, hitpakadtem, hifkadtem, hofkadtem. So parsing perfects involves identifying the first part of the form, including the prefix, R1 vowel, and R2 doubling, from the name of the stem itself. Then the second part of any perfect form comes from the corresponding cal perfect. Now, there is one exception to this, and that is the hifil. The hifil is a little bit of a rogue agent out there. The hifil sometimes follows its own drummer. And there's a couple of cases where the theme vowel does not match the cal form. The exceptions are where we have no suffix, the 3ms, hifkid, or where we have a vocalic ending, the third feminine singular, hifkida, or down here the third common plural, hifkidu. In those cases, the theme vowel, rather than matching the cal, which as you can see over here has a patach, the theme vowel becomes a hirakiod. And actually that's quite helpful because the hirakiod, even though it's different, is characteristically hifil. And so the hirakiod is actually your friend.